The Hollow King has an interesting premise. An ancient king turned vampire scours the land in a quest to eradicate evil and those who had felled his empire. However, contrary to the impression of the blurb on the back of the book, the plot isn't a revenge story, but a series of happenstances that Cato, the Hollow King, gets himself involved in, sometimes willingly or coerced. And it reads more like a serial rather than a single contained story. Cato is a potentially interesting character as he is a vampire, a soul blight, with a code of honor, and uniquely contradicts the perceived evil of his kind, and he communicates with the souls of his friends, from when he was human, who are trapped within his rings for aid. Some receive him kindly, some resentful. He is direct, will shrug when at a loss, and is very compliant. There are some flashbacks to his human years and entail his attitude towards his royal duties and relationships with the now trapped souls. Some of these flashbacks, however, particularly in the opening chapters, feel disjointed as they are interjected in the middle of minor actions as the scene is ongoing. Further adding to the disjointed feel of the opening chapters is an oddly placed history lesson on the Age of Sigmar in the middle of such actions. Here lies a major gripe that I have with the storytelling. The author does well, very well, to describe the scenarios, surroundings, and whatever little bits of backstory for characters that are common with general storytelling. However, most of the book is a great amount of description, with less emphasis on telling the story. Very often we are described where Cato is presently, detailing everything that surrounds him, and whatever bit of Cato's background that can relate, all of which is necessary to help the reader visualize the circumstance and world building, but not much is happening. By halfway, Cato has slain a foe in the opening. He meets a girl in a tavern, investigates a suspicious place where some people are murdered, and then he is arrested. Similarly, in the latter half, Cato quickly resolves the quest forced upon him with some decent interpersonal drama, and off we go to the climax. The halfway point, the time of his arrest, I feel should be the end of Act 1, at least quarter way through, and the turning point for the story. The height of the climax feels a little unearned, considering that the characters involved weren't introduced until halfway or after. The first two chapters open to a bit of action at a wagon, introducing us to Cato's vampiric nature and sword skills. I can see what the author had in mind for the opening. It's certainly a good opening for a movie, but I couldn't help but feel that it should have opened with the scene after his arrest, dutifully detailing Cato, his sentimental soul rings, his weapons, and the world's attitude towards the soul blight, all while this is described to us by the respective characters in this scene, who would play a major part in the climax. From there, we can go back and tell as much backstory in whatever fashion suited, without disrupting the flow with miscellaneous flashbacks and interruptive lore. For the story's length, it might have worked better as a novella, with a more direct and less cumbersome approach to its narrative, though I do appreciate the author's attention to and imagination for detail. The epilogue is like a post-credit scene for a movie and, I felt, was unnecessary. The ending of the final chapter was a suitable conclusion, providing a somber finality to the story and wonder for where Cato's journey could take him. But the sequel bait detracts from its impact. Whether these characters were introduced in previous stories, I do not know, so perhaps an Age of Sigmar fan probably got a kick out of that. Regardless, it felt superfluous to the ending. What doesn't work for me might work for another, for there are clearly people who do enjoy or love this, and they should. And not every novelist is going to have constant 5-star works. Nevertheless, it was a beginning for Cato. As an introduction to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, it can be pleasantly read without having prior knowledge of Warhammer lore or having to read another work prior, as it's focused on the protagonist's journey and his alone, and there's not really any references or characters who should confuse the reader. I will say that the game's workshop figure for Kato does look spectacular. It's a very cool design. The author, John French, has written a plethora of novels across the Warhammer universes, and they are well received, and he has accomplished what probably many can only hope to. I hope to read a book of his that I will find investing, and I, indeed, shall look forward to what else he has in store.